Yep.
Hey, Kilo 801.
But you wanna be bad, just beat it. Beat it. No one wants to beat it.
Great day to be alive, gang. Seth here from Reclamation Strength and Wellness CT. Today I'm taking you through a bit of a warm-up sequence, stretching, flexibility sequence I did the other day. Something I did coming in to get the body moving, loosen things up, and prepare both the mind and the muscles for the upcoming training session. I was feeling particularly sore from previous sessions, so I needed a lecture time focused on stretching, flexibility, and more inhibition type techniques. And some of these things are crossover to mobility, but they're really more flexibility and stretching oriented. I'll cover more mobility and active range drills in later videos. Your warm-up, stretching, cool-down, flexibility sessions don't have to look the same every day, but they should have intention. And for me, that means addressing common tight areas, weak points with stretching and mobility drills, activating key stability areas, and priming the nervous system for what's coming. I'll try to keep it simple. Just wanted to share what I did, why I did it, and give you some insight into my corrective movement-based approach to my training on this day and the flexibility stretching part of the session. If you enjoy this breakdown, have ideas for future topics, drop a comment below. And if this kind of content helps you move, feel, or perform better, hit a like, subscribe, stay tuned, and more likely you'll see this content in the future. There's a lot more on the way. Let's dive right in. Alright, so hopping into it, we're going to start with a trap trigger point or a trap rolling. Here I'm using the barbell in the squat rack. I've got it set at a height where I can leverage myself underneath, put a little pressure on the upper trap, and you can see I'm taking the neck through some lateral flexion, bringing my ear to the opposite shoulder of where I have the barbell, and then the side that I do have the barbell, the hands behind the back. That is to stretch and lengthen the muscle to relieve some tension. The upper traps, with me in particular, are very tight and tense from doing upper body dominant work, being upper body dominant in general. And this time of year, sitting in the car driving or being a little colder in general, the upper traps and shoulders tend to hike up towards the ears. So this is one of my favorite methods. You can see I'm kneading it, trying to get some pressure to relieve some tension in the upper traps. Preceding this, I go right into a 30-second trap stretch on each side, upper neck. I'm turning the head as well downwards to the floor to increase and intensify the stretch as well. This is sped up, but it's about 30 seconds on each side. After getting into the upper neck and traps, then we go down to a foam roller. Here, going right into the thoracic spine, into the middle of the back. You can see I'm opening up the musculature there by really giving myself a big hug. That's going to help you get into the muscles there. We don't want to be on the bony structures. You can see I'm going about 3 to 5 inches in the middle part of that thoracic spine beneath the shoulder blades. Then here you can see I actually have an implement behind me which I'm able to use for some leverage to accentuate the T-spine extension, which is part of the purpose of doing this drill. The thoracic spine, we want to emphasize mobility and extension and rotation. This is going to help with posture, that upright posture, and try to combat that forward rounding posture we might see in the seated position, rounded forward shoulders. Now we're going to the side to get underneath the armpit area into the lats, and now I'm doing some external rotations and some movement to get into that posterior shoulder capsule and the rotator cuff as well. While the foam roller is on the back side, hopping right into some glutes. So I'm crossing the leg over of the side that I'm focused on so I can kind of turn into that pocket of that hip. You can see that I was using the foam roller and I wanted something a little more intense. So I got up and I got a lacrosse ball, which is a little smaller, more dense, so you can really get into those trigger points and those areas of discomfort. You can hold as I'm doing here. Deep breaths. We want to get in tune with our breathing and then add some movement. You can see I start to sit. I cross the leg over, working some external rotation movement, getting it comfortable in different types of positions. Then we switch sides. Again, going into the corner of the hip. So I switched from the foam roller again because it wasn't quite intense enough. Something softer is going to be less intense. Something smaller and dense will be more intense. Now I'm going back to some movement, so applying pressure into that hip and some circles. After the glutes here, we're gonna go right into the pecs. So we take that lacrosse ball. We're gonna do the pecs here on the floor. These can be done standing up at the wall as well. I'm using gravity to assist, so I'm kind of laying down. I do have to turn my head to the side so I'm not sniffing the floor here. But bring that arm back and forward, and getting some movement into the front of that chest musculature where you might get some of that chest pinching, tightness. If you're doing those overhead movements, feel any tension. And from that forward posture. Now I'm bringing the arm to the side and to that behind the back position, which is going to be a good stretch for the shoulder. Again, focusing on deep breaths the entirety of going through these drills. It's all about getting those muscles and joints to function comfortably and under control. And really, as much as they're for the muscles, it is for the mind as well. Anyway, next here I'm placing that lacrosse ball. Now we're going to the back side. We're putting it into the rhomboids and in between the shoulder blades. Again, not on the bony structures, but on the musculature. Doing some overhead reaches and then across the body reaches, accentuating that reach across by using the other arm, kind of like a rear delt stretch. And now we're off to the side where we might be in that range of motion to press up overhead, or do pull-ups or lat pull-downs in that range of motion. So that's going to help loosen up the musculature. Again, just trying to get the shoulder blade to feel comfortable going through the range of motion that you might see later in the day, or loosen up those tight muscles that you have from previous sessions. Deep breaths, trying to increase the range of motion as I go through this from start to finish. After the soft tissue and trigger point work, going into some dynamic stretching. One of my personal favorites, a prone scorpion. We're reaching the opposite heel towards the opposite hand in a prone position, arms wide. Going to be a good chest stretch and hip opener. Then we're going to a side lying thoracic rotation or windmill movement. So here, as I'm laying down on my side, I'm sweeping that arm up and over, trying to keep it as close to the ground as I can. Notice I'm holding that position right now, really feeling some tension and tightness through that T-spine and lats. Deep breaths, trying to feel it open up and gradually increase the range of motion. I'm using my top arm to also facilitate holding down the top leg, which accentuates a stretch through the hips. It helps keep the lumbar spine locked in, keep us honest from moving only from the T-spine. You can see that hand holding that knee down here a little bit better from this angle. You could see I didn't do as great of a job as I probably could have. I could probably use a foam roller there to buffer some of the floor or the space that is popping up beneath my knee there. We want to keep that knee locked down, and I'm working through those reps, gradually increasing range of motion. From there, down to our back, we have arms wide to the side, foam roller, or an object between the knees. It's going to keep our hips square, lumbar locked in. Bent knee iron cross, I call this one. Head is turning opposite to the side of the foam roller. I didn't coin it that. From Joe DeFranco is where I got that terminology. Then we're going into some supine hamstring kicks. I'm letting that heel tap and kick right on up, toes pointed to the nose. Hands are going to assist behind the knee, pull that leg up at the top to get a little further stretch. Trying our best to keep the knee straight, which I could have done a little better with this drill. Then arms wide to the side, bringing that toe across to the opposite hand and fingertips. Good stretch to the hamstrings, lower back, working some rotation. Again, these are all emphasizing staying mobile, limber, feeling free, feeling like we can move free, getting in tune with our body, so we feel athletic and spry when we're going through our workouts and daily life. Then I grab a band, loop it around. This day, again, was a more mobility and stretch focused day. I was feeling in particularly tight and tense, so I'm doing some extra work on these areas. You might not necessarily go through all of this like you did with and without the band, but I'm adding a band in, and I added in some adductor stretching there, or groin stretching, as I'm going through some up and out circles. This is a personal favorite from myself and clients. Now we're reaching across the body and then to the opposing side of the body, keeping the legs straight, opening up the hips, groin opener. Groin has been an area of focus for me. I have those tight pinching hips. Now we're going up and out and around town with those hip circles again on the other side. You can reverse directions. Clients ask which direction. You could do a couple in each direction. Typically, I start with the hamstring out to the groin and work about 5 to 10 reps and then alternate directions. Then we're in a quadruped position. Thread the needle. We are reaching one hand across the body as if we're putting on a seatbelt, down and across the body. Opening up those hands, fingertips out, shoulder rolls for the pecs and the chest. Then we're going to do some activation and stability for the posterior shoulder. We have our V's or A's. Our palms are up to the sky, then palms are down to the sky, focusing our retraction, good burn, letting the neck and forehead rest for this so we can really isolate the rear delts. Thumbs up to the roof here. For our T's, we're scarecrow type position, and thumbs up to the sky for our Y's. Trying to keep elbows straight throughout all of those as well. Then we're going to a down dog or an ankle pedal calf stretch. I know you can't see much from this position. Then we're doing a lunge out step, spider stretch, trying hands flat, trying to get that heel flat beside it. This will accentuate lengthening in the hip flexors and the leg behind, and then stretching some of that high hamstring and groin. Right into some mobility, add some movement after stretching there. We have some 90-90 hip switches with leaning forward, trying to get into that lead hip, that lead glute, and piriformis. Standing right up, then we're going to go right into a frog squat and an angry cat type stretch. I am holding on to an implement to help leverage myself into the position. Adding a couple rotations there, getting comfortable in that over squat position, try to integrate all that we've done. Again, this is more mobility and activation, a little bit of activation with the shoulders in this sequence here today. But this is not an end-all be-all by any means, just what I happen to do on this particular day. Wanted to take you all through it, finishing off with some activation of the upper back before I get into some more CNS work and stability work that I do for the lower body after this. But you can see here with a band, I do some rows and some face pulls, about 10 to 15 reps each. Those can be interchangeable, the order with the one I do here. The band dislocator, sometimes I do those before the rows. This is going to be opening up that shoulder joint, overhead. Make sure everything's feeling good before we get really moving. And then palms are up, elbows in, some no money, and external rotation. Feel the burn. Enjoy, guys.